And we are live. Now, make sure that's there. Give me a second. Now, somebody else was meant to join, but they're off hanging out with family. Yeah. Give me a second. Just linking the stream. So, sorry. Fuck throat. Come on. Come on, YouTube. Okay, but anyway, if YouTube would fucking load. Come on. No, I don't want to go back on that. Okay, link stream. Come on, load. Phone. My phone's slow as fuck. Okay, but I'll get to the point of the stream in a second. I just have to get this fucking thing done. And we have like no viewers. God damn, I hate drainage. Okay, since I'm the only one here, give me a second. And Discord's taking this time to load, and of course it does. Come on. No. I don't want to watch my own videos. Come on. Okay. There we go. Okay, there we go. Now that the link's in the server, so people can watch it. So I found a video called, and this is what the video is called. Here, I'll just share it. Share my screen. Called Godzilla Has Always Been Silly, and That's Okay. Okay, two things wrong with this video already. Just going off the title. The fact that the 1954 original exists just debunks this entire video. The fact that Heisei era exists. The fact that GMK exists. The fact that, -1 exists. Well, I mean, technically that was later on, but you know what I mean. Anyway, let's continue with this. See if anyone's in chat. No one's in chat. Sorry if I can barely be fucking heard. Because my mic is just messed up. Anyway, let's go through this video.
You're up. And the Oscar goes to... Here we go. This is Godzilla.
After decades of being one of the most iconic cinematic franchises of all time, Godzilla has won an Oscar. Godzilla -1 is rightfully being praised as one of the greatest Godzilla films in recent memory, if not ever.
Possibility of standing on this stage seemed out of reach.
With all franchises that last a long time, there's a tendency for new fans, enthusiastic about a quality entry in a series, to talk down about a franchise's goofier entries. We saw it with James Bond, the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
What?
Just about every single horror movie franchise with more than 4 films, especially Friday the 13th. But it's especially true for Godzilla, which has multiple entries all coming out in short succession, all celebrating different aspects of Godzilla's legacy. And I mean that fairly recently. 2023 and 2024 have been the years of Godzilla, with some of the best releases we've seen in a very long time. Monarch, the multiple Godzilla shorts we've seen for the Godzilla Fest, Godzilla x Kong, and of course, Godzilla -1.
God damn it.
This was never...
I don't want to get... give me a second. I hate ads. Okay, there we go. Actually, speaking of that, I swear every like 40 seconds, there's always like ad. But anyway, so sorry, I'm just woke up, so I'm not like fully charged. But anyway,
But while Godzilla Minus One harkens back to the original film's darkness, something both Godzilla 2014 and Shin Godzilla did, the new Godzilla X Kong movie harkens back to the goofier side, the Showa era, the gigantic kaiju brawls, absurd sequences, and imaginative fantasy world building that defies all logic other than the rule of cool. Before we get started, if you like what I do here, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment.
I had to. Okay, so grab this mic. But yeah, I had to. Okay, let's continue with this.
Telling me how you got introduced to Godzilla, what your favorite film is, and what kaiju is your favorite. For me personally, mine is Mothra, but let's put these iconic kaiju together. He's been around for when did that first film come out? 1954. That was 70 years ago. 1954, 2024. Wow. That just occurred to me. This is kind of a 70th anniversary of Godzilla video, I guess?
Nah, it isn't.
I don't know. 70 years. I mean, that's a big deal. All right.
Now I'm gonna speed this up.
Now, when I grew up, Godzilla was one of those franchises that every kid adored, and myself included. I was introduced to Godzilla back during the Sci-Fi Channel marathons used to run. Where they'd have a bunch of the classic Showa era films running back to back to back. Maybe they'd have King Kong Escapes in there too, which was the King Kong kaiju film Toho did after Godzilla versus King Kong, or King Kong versus Godzilla. And they were a lot of fun.
Okay, I'm gonna skip the parts to where he just talks about Godzilla.
It was a cool looking figure. I had no idea what the context was. This was just running on Sci-Fi Channel, and we just watched them as they came out.
Godzilla is approaching. Evacuate immediately.
Sci-Fi Stumpathon 2001 continues today at 3 p.m. with Godzilla versus...
And they were a lot of fun. I have a lot of fond memories when I was a kid. My grandmother would watch me just have these playing on all the way. I had all those Godzilla toys. I had Mecha Godzilla, I had Mecha King Ghidorah, which I didn't even... The more serious, dramatic Godzilla film where Godzilla doesn't show up in front of any monsters, or we're going to watch the film where Godzilla and a giant robot man fight a giant cockroach and a giant chicken with a chainsaw, the buzzsaw for a chest. It's not a hard decision. Don't take too long to figure it out. I think a lot of fans now, though, are so caught up in the serious, Oscar-winning kaiju-sized metaphors that we're forgetting how inherently silly Godzilla is.
I mean, okay, first off, Godzilla. I mean, okay. First off, Godzilla as a concept wasn't really meant to be silly. It was just more about like nuclear, like the power of like a nuclear bomb can do and all that. Like, give me a second. But yeah.
Even going back to the first film, there is some goofiness there.
Wait. Did he actually just say
how inherently silly Godzilla is? Even going back to the first film, there is some goofiness there.
Some goofiness there. Okay. Let's watch the clip he plays.
It's a guy in a giant rubber. Well, actually, it was some ready-mix cement. Actually, people don't realize this. The original rubber suit was a mix of latex and cement.
Yeah, I don't believe you. He may be telling the truth, but I don't believe him.
Looking that around.
But okay, so you're saying there's some silliness in the original Godzilla? Okay. Yeah. A little girl. Well, let's see what type of scenes are in the original Godzilla. Oh yeah, there's a scene to where literally a mother literally sees Godzilla just slowly getting closer and closer and tells her two kids that they'll be with their father soon. And literally there's a scene to where Godzilla well, not Godzilla. Well, there's a scene to where I mean, it's been a while since I watched the 1954 film, but it's going to take me a while to remember, but There was also the scene to where what was it called? Oh, I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, there's a scene to where a little girl hears that her mom's dead and just cries. Also, these clips don't really prove anything.
At the end of the day, the original Godzilla is about a guy wearing a suit, walking around, crushing toy buildings and tanks.
No, it was about nuclear, pretty much the the effects of a nuclear bomb and all that. It was supposed to be about like nukes in general. That was the original message.
And despite what various, admittedly very effective, analog horror films or shorts on YouTube would like to tell you, it was just that guy in a suit. You know,
What? What? Okay, first of all, yeah, it was a guy in a suit, but Godzilla in the film represents nuclear destruction. Like, not to mention, there's literally like, oh yeah, and by the way, sorry, I keep forgetting it. Every single time I keep forgetting, but yeah, it was about like nuclear weapons in general, like the effects of it. That's what Godzilla represents. He represents the bomb that hit Japan. Something tells me you don't actually know what the fuck you're talking about. Something tells me you only watch the Showa era films. Who wants to bet this fucker only watched the Showa era films and called it a day? Yeah, he probably did do that.
for most of those old films. Back in the days when Godzilla came on screen, there were 3 ways to effectively bring monsters to life: rubber suits, puppetry, or stop motion.
Well, I mean, rubber suits. I mean, with a suit, you don't have to actually like grab the thing and just like constantly move. Suit, all you gotta do is just move in once, and you don't like stop motion takes a fucking long ass time. Like that's why they used like stop motion. I mean, suits because it takes less time. So it would take less time. Well, anyway, let me just unpause this.
Today, I'm unsure which was the more effective means of monster creation. I mean, personally, I'm always drawn to the artistry of stop motion. I look at the original.
Okay, first of all, the reason why people use suits in for like films like Godzilla is because one, it's way more easier to just put somebody in a suit and move it around and stop motion. Because here's a fun fact about stop motion: you literally have to like move it once, then take a picture of that, and then move it again, then take a picture of that, and then move it like like stop motion was meant to be used for the original Godzilla.
King Kong or Mighty Joe Young or the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, and I see some of those beautiful monster effects of all time.
The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
And while puppets could be used, I don't think they really hit their stride until Jim Henson came along. We got stuff like Star Wars, The Dark Crystal, etc. So rubber suits, they were very goofy, but they were also cost effective and very good.
Exactly, but here's the thing: a rubber suit can, I mean, well, thing about this is that, like I said, it's way more easier to make a rubber suit than make a than use stop motion. It takes longer to use stop motion. With a rubber suit, all you gotta do is make it and then like move it around pretty much.
Good at helping to lend to the scale of kaiju action. Here's another thing. Godzilla as an icon, that didn't happen overnight. The original Godzilla film was a hit, undeniably so. But The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms also had come out a couple years prior.
Buried somewhere under the polar ice cap, in a state of suspended animation, are the awesome creatures. A nuclear explosion could free one from his icy tooth.
When Godzilla Raids Again came out in America, it was named Gigantus, the Fire Monster, because American producer Paul Schreibman thought audiences might be confused, since the previous film ended the middle point between the formula that we would see in the Showa era and the darkness of the first film.
Wait,
I don't think
what?
it gets the best of it.
Wait,
and
what?
Godzilla Raids Again is fascinating because it's the middle point between the formula that we would see in the Showa era and the darkness of the first film.
What the fuck is he talking about? No. Godzilla Raids Again, it was fucking serious. It was serious. Like, it was pretty fucking serious. Like like before you say, oh, but the monsters fight fast. Yeah, they do, but that's only because, well, you see, it's because like editing and whatnot, and so it was supposed to originally look a lot more slower. It wasn't meant to be silly. It was meant to be just as serious and as dark as the original. This fucker didn't fucking watch Rays again. This fucker probably didn't even watch Rays again. Give me a second. Let me. I'm gonna mute. I'm gonna try and put my. I gotta put something together. Give me a second. Okay, there we go. That should be a bit better. But anyway, back to what I was doing. Okay, but anyway, let's continue with this. And I'm just gonna leave it alone. But my microphone's just fucking like out of the thing. So yeah. Okay, let's continue.
I don't think it gets the best of either. I think Anguirus is an interesting ally for Godzilla, but not as interesting to watch Godzilla fight. But it did set the tone. Godzilla comes back, a new monster comes in, they fight, buildings get crushed, nebulous ending. The monster's beaten. Godzilla is either walks away or is temporarily imprisoned for a time being, what have you. But the original King Kong versus Godzilla was in a lot of ways the start of Godzilla movies feeling like a WWE ticket match.
I mean, it's a versus film. What do you expect? It's about two monsters fighting. It's going to be marketed like a WWE match. It's just going to be that way. It's just going to be marketed like that because, well, it's a versus movie. What do you expect? It doesn't really mean anything. I mean, if you're talking about like, Ghidorah the three-headed monster, you would have a point. That's when the whole like Godzilla silliness began. Okay, let's continue.
How do you like your monsters? Huge, warm-blooded, and furry?
Godzilla fans can tell you that very few Godzilla movies have a compelling human narrative.
Okay, I mean, very few. I mean, there's a decent amount that have like a decent human story or a good human story.
That's something that a lot of the newer Godzilla films have worked with or against, and it depends on the effectiveness of the film to determine how interesting the human story is. Of the early Showa era films, I think the one that really got the human narrative, aside from the original film, is Mothra vs. Godzilla. Not to confuse with Godzilla vs. Mothra, which is the 1992 film, not the 1964 film. And both are peak. Both are peak Godzilla, in my opinion. Whenever Mothra comes on, you're going to get a good story. Anytime Godzilla is on screen with Mothra, the film is elevated, and I think that's due to Mothra's inherent connection to humanity and human culture. Because of Mothra's ties to being worshipped as a goddess, the island culture from which she hails from, that inherently brings humanity into the core conflict of.
Isn't like Mothra meant to like represent like Earth itself? And that as long as we don't like fuck with like Earth, Mothra won't really fuck with us. Just going by memory.
Of the narrative, rather than makes them something that we have to move past to get to the kaiju. It is part of the kaiju experience. Mothra's eggs wash up on shore in that first film, and people have a mix of reactions. Now, this is also a sequel, you have to keep in mind, to the film Mothra, so audiences in Japan already knew who Mothra was. Now, the eggs wash up, and businessmen exploit the eggs for an exhibit, as well as the two twin fairies who emerge as Mothra's
I'm just going to
protector.
skip.
There's a lot of discussion about how capitalism exploits more about humanity taking hold of society. I think it's one of the last really deep plots that Godzilla films had before diving into Showa-era silliness.
Wait, what? The last film that had the... What? Let me play that again.
And the cost of lives. Whereas King Kong vs. Godzilla is more about filming spectacle, this is more about humanity taking hold of society. I think it's one of the last really deep plots that Godzilla films had before diving into Showa-era silliness. And
I don't even know what to fucking say to that. I honestly don't even know what to say to that. I don't know. I don't know what to say to that at all.
that's fine. And of course, we get multiple fights in Godzilla vs. Mothra. One where a moth and a giant radioactive reptile fight, and another where her two offspring come back for revenge. It's great. It's fantastic. Even in the Heisei era, which is the era of Godzilla films after the initial show. So the way the films work is the Showa era, which is, from 1954 to the mid-70s, where it's from Godzilla, the original, to, I think, one of the Mechagodzilla films, the second one.
Oh, god damn.
The American West was hope.
No, I don't care. I don't care.
And the Heisei era came around, which was from the mid-80s to the mid-90s. It's a stretch of like a film every year, and they played Godzilla more seriously, though still having some of the action from the original series. And it's all one big continuity. The films feed into the other. It's a good, solid run. Then there's the Millennium era, which is kind of a weird, fragmented era of Godzilla films. Each film kind of stands alone, except for a couple of the films which reference the first film, and there's a couple of films here and there that, like, it's nebulous, is what I'm getting at. And then there's the Heisei era, which is what we're encouraging.
The Heisei era. Give me a second. Let me play that again. No.
Which is kind of a weird, fragmented era of Godzilla films. Each film kind of stands alone, except for
Let's play that
a couple
again.
of films which reference the first film, and there's a couple of films here and there that, like, it's nebulous, is what I'm getting at. And then there's the Heisei era, which is
The Heisei era. I mean, we don't. I'm pretty sure nobody has a name for the new era of Godzilla that's still currently going on, but I'm pretty sure we have a name for it. That's not the Heisei era. The Heisei era. What kind of fucking name is that?
what we're in currently, which is Shin Godzilla, the Godzilla anime, and of course, the legendary film series. But Heisei is pretty beloved among fans for this run of serious Godzilla narratives, but they're of course very silly as well. While things were getting more serious and more dramatic, and playing Godzilla for horror rather than just spectacle or fun, the films never forgot the core appeal of the Godzilla franchise: the monsters. A lot of fans don't have fond memories, though, of 1985's The Return of Godzilla. The spark.
Who doesn't? I mean, yeah. I know several people that are Godzilla fans that have fond memories of that film. I know those. I know people that do. I know some critics that have fond memories of that film. What the fuck are you on about? What the fuck is he on about, actually? What is he on about?
The Heisei saga, which harken back to the original film in the same way later entries would. Godzilla's the solo monster, comes back, destroys stuff. The American release of The Return of Godzilla even brought Raymond Burr back as his character, Steve Martin. Yes, the character was named Steve Martin. Let's move on. When you talk about the Heisei era with fans, they're going to talk about films like Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, Godzilla vs. Mothra, or if they have taste, Biolantis outing. But the first film feels hollow because it's just recreating the first Godzilla film. The first.
No, it is not correct. Oh my fucking god. The story is completely different. Literally, how they get rid of Godzilla is completely different than how they did it in the original film. It's not like a copy. The story is not the exact same. The only thing that's really similar is, I think Godzilla does attack Chokio in the film, right? Yeah. Sorry, it's been a while since I watched the film. I mean, because I actually watched the film, I'm like this guy here. But yeah, the story isn't the exact same. The story's completely different. God damn.
One from 1954. I think it's because it lacked a real allegorical component to it. Godzilla walks through Japan, destroys things, but it doesn't mean as much as, say, Shin Godzilla does when dealing with the fallout of the 2011 tsunami.
I mean, there was there like a nuclear missile in like the film, and like what was it? Oh yeah, a nuclear missile that was like sent from, what was it called? Oh yeah, from the International Space Station. So I mean, the nuke stuff's still there, but even if it doesn't really have like nuclear like messages and whatnot, like it still takes itself seriously, and a lot of Godzilla films, fans think that it's a good movie. So what exactly is your fucking point? I thought Godzilla was always fucking silly, huh? Motherfucker. The motherfucker probably only watched the Showa era and only watched like the Heisei films via clips. He only watched clips of the Heisei films. He didn't watch any of them.
Nor does it have as much to do with the meaning that Godzilla Minus One has when focusing back on the Japanese people uniting. There's a lack of depth in the Return to Godzilla that I think lends it to.
I mean, like I'm just getting a fucking headache.
Being somewhat forgotten as an entry.
Being forgotten. Say that. I want to hear that again.
That's what I think lends it to being somewhat forgotten as an entry.
Somewhat being forgotten. I mean, I know a lot of people that remember this film pretty fondly.
But ultimately, the core appeal for a while for Godzilla fans was seeing Godzilla fight other monsters. Consider this. When Godzilla decided to wrap up the Millennium Era, they went out with a bang.
And he just fucking skipped the entire fucking Heisei era. I mean, he only like covered like one fucking film in the Heisei era and called it a day. And just went right to the Millennium Era. You know, there's films that have messages in the in the Heisei era. Like there's Godzilla versus Mothra. That's like, oh my god, we need to protect a man bad, nature good message in it. I mean, it's there. Maybe if you actually fucking watch them instead of just making a video acting like you know everything.
Bang, Godzilla Final Wars. A tribute to what the fans wanted, what they believed the fans wanted at the time. And it's a movie that's purely just Godzilla brawling with every single kaiju they can squeeze into this runtime. Even knocking the American remake Zilla down in a curb stomp battle. It's non-stop excitement. Even the human narrative gives way to absurd action.
Become the master
God
of the
damn
air,
it.
the thunder of the seas, or a tank fury in the epic multiplayer action game Wars.
But there's a reason why Final Wars isn't a fan favorite, though it has fan favorite moments. I think it's because Godzilla Final Wars gives fans too much of what they want. And because of that, it becomes a little mind-numbing at times. Not to mention the fact that Godzilla plows through everyone. Like there's that scene where he's fighting King Caesar and Rodan, he's just plowing through them like a horrific. But even then, there's a Universal Studios ride where Godzilla fights the Evangelions. As a fan of both franchises, especially Evangelion, I think one reason why a subset of Godzilla fans today misinterpret Godzilla as a purely serious thing in Japan is because
it was always meant to be serious. The entire, like, what Godzilla is meant to represent is the nuclear bomb. That is what he represents.
for the last few years, Godzilla fans have been treated to a series of shorts where Godzilla fights classic adversaries who haven't been on film for a while, all taking place in the Heisei continuity. We've seen Godzilla Jr. fight Gigan.
Okay, something I'm gonna say is that that's not really, like, confirmed. That's mostly a theory. It hasn't been 100% confirmed. It's mostly been implied that it's the same Godzilla. At the end of the day, we don't know if it's the same Godzilla. At the end of the day, that's just a theory. Like, we don't even, like, like, at best, the film fucking, implies that it's, like, Godzilla Jr. The fan films imply that it's Godzilla Jr. Like, that doesn't mean, per se, that it is Godzilla Jr. It's just a theory. I mean, I do believe the theory that it's Godzilla Jr., but that's not 100% confirmed. Acting like it is, isn't true, because it's not confirmed if it's, like, Godzilla Jr. At best, it's mostly implied. Anyway, let's continue.
And Megalon, and we have a reunion match between Godzilla and Jet Jaguar, who to this day is still peak, but they're not being released as the big blockbusters in international markets.
What?
Audiences aren't seeing these fun shorts, though Godzilla fans are getting them in Japan, and they are being released on YouTube, and a lot of hard...
Well, I mean, yeah, people... What? Let me play that.
Released as the big blockbusters in international markets. Audiences aren't seeing these fun shorts, though Godzilla fans are getting them in Japan, and they are being released on YouTube, and a lot of hardcore fans are watching them. The average fan who just watched Godzilla Minus One and is now introduced to Godzilla as a franchise, a serious franchise, they don't see that Godzilla is still being celebrated for the inherent silliness of Godzilla.
Yes, they do, because a lot of those people watched Godzilla X Kong New Empire and they didn't like it.
All they see is Godzilla is serious business now. They might have seen Shin Godzilla, they might have seen Godzilla Minus One, and maybe they've seen the legendary films as well. But the hardcore Godzilla fans...
Wait, if they think Godzilla's always, like, silly... Wait, what?
They don't see that Godzilla is still being celebrated for the inherent silliness of Godzilla. All they see is Godzilla is serious business now. They might have seen Shin Godzilla, they might have seen Godzilla -1, and maybe they've seen the Legendary films as well.
You are aware a lot of the Legendary films are more focused on comedy, right? I mean, yeah, 2014 was serious. Oh wait, you didn't fucking watch. You didn't fucking watch the Legendary films, did you? Oh wait, but you did watch Godzilla X Kong the Empire. Also, by the way, something he's completely ignoring is that the animated trilogy exists. Yeah, sure, it's bad. it's a bad anime trilogy, but it's still pretty dark.
But the hardcore Godzilla fans we're seeing online today that is new to the franchise,
you can't be a hardcore fan and be new to a series. That's not how it works. You would have to know almost everything about the series. You have to be in the fandom for like a long time. Like,
don't seem to realize that a lot of longtime fans love the silly aspects of Godzilla.
Not all fans. Like, I've seen people that just don't like the sillier Godzilla films, like Godzilla X Kong. I've seen people like that. Yeah, sure, you can like enjoy them, but it's like there's people out there that just don't like the silliness of Godzilla. Like, not all Godzilla fans are the same. Like, you're acting like you act like all Godzilla fans are the same, but I know Godzilla fans that just don't like the comedy and the silliness of the recent MonsterVerse films. I mean, I honestly just don't care. I do like the MonsterVerse films, but
even if it's goofy, even if it's absurd, the silliness, the brawls, that's what drew us in the first place as kids. Because the 2014 film harkens back to the seriousness of the original film. They treat Godzilla less as a monster or superhero and more as this defender of nature, this genuinely serious entity that maintains the balance between humanity's destructive forces, between forces outside of the world. He is Earth's protector, but he's not.
No, he's Earth's protector, but he really doesn't give a fuck about humanity. Like, he really kills several people. Oh, hey, we got somebody finally watching. Finally, I mean, because I'm back here by myself.
Not necessarily humanity's protector.
Exactly, he's not humanity's protector. If humanity fuck up, he will kill them. Yeah.
Time we've seen from 2014 to 2024, Godzilla has shifted. He has become this almost Lovecraftian entity of cosmic proportions to the Showa era fun Godzilla. We've seen it. We've gone.
I don't fucking know anymore. I don't even fucking know anymore. I don't know what to fucking say to that.
Through the same cycle in roughly the same period of time that Japan went with Godzilla. Because again, King Kong vs. Godzilla, that was about 10 years after the first Godzilla film. No, a little less actually. I think it was 62. So within 8 years, much like we had with Legendary, Japan had a silly Godzilla in just as few appearances. 3 films, he's silly again in both. And now we're seeing that continue into the Showa, into our modern American Showa era of Godzilla films.
What? Modern Showa era American film? What? I don't even know what this guy's trying to say.
And people are rejecting that because they want that serious Godzilla that they got from Godzilla -1, but they're forgetting the cycle. They're forgetting the pace at which Godzilla changes. And I think a lot has to do with the familiarity audiences have with Godzilla.
The reason why people like -1 is because it's a good movie.
In a given point in time. In the Showa era, we were becoming more familiar with Godzilla for the first time, and children loved it. So they made Godzilla films that humanized Godzilla. If you watch Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, there's a great scene where Mothra has to argue with Godzilla and Rodan to get them to work together.
Mothra says, the earth belongs to man, and Mothra says it belongs to man.
And it's a great scene because you have the fairies translating because they can speak monster apparently. The appeal of Godzilla at that era. And we've never seen anything that silly before. We're seeing Godzilla and Kong communicate, but
in regards to the Legendary community,
it's usually done through the dramatics of their, very expressive CGI models in these new films. We're not seeing a fairy translate when Godzilla decides to drop an F-bomb or say a slur about Rodan.
Well, I mean, in that scene, Kong's just trying to convince Godzilla to go into the Hollow Earth and all that. Yeah.
Dan's mother or something. We are seeing, though, and we've never seen anything that silly before. We're seeing Godzilla
in regards to the legend. I mean, yeah, I mean the MonsterVerse films, they do. I mean, they don't really full on go with like the comedy. Like, there's some stuff like Monarch Legacy of the Monsters that are serious. Like, it ain't like as silly as the Showa era.
Kong communicate, but it's usually done through the dramatics of their, very expressive CGI models in these new films. We're not seeing a fairy translate when Godzilla decides to drop an F-bomb or say a slur about Rodan's mother or something. We are seeing, though.
God damn it. Give me a second. Come on, I don't want to see these ads.
Horror these monsters represents, because the existential horror settles down.
Godzilla, huh? Okay, let me see what you're made of.
When all is said and done, what is the value in these films? What artistic merit do we get from watching monsters clobbering monsters? In some sense, there is something very profound about it. These kaiju were created to represent how dwarfed humanity was by the reality around them. Themselves, the master of nature. That's how we're doing it. We think we can dominate nature. We can't. And that's always relevant. And Kong's limited appearances lend itself to that, because 30s, 70s, 2000s, different ways to interpret how we think we can dominate nature. Of destruction go head to head. There's a reason no one cares about destruction in cities in Godzilla films. There's a reason.
You are wrong. I mean, there's GMK that made a very big fucking deal about, what's happening. I mean, the city. I mean, about the cities being destroyed and whatnot. Like, they clearly. I mean, they gave a fuck in that film. Sorry, I keep forgetting what I'm saying.
People have fun with it because it's all a set. It's all an artifice. And the artificiality of these sets is part of the fun, at least in the older films. Modern films, they play up the horror, but between the original Godzilla...
I thought the original Godzilla...
film and the Heisei era, and even into the Heisei era, these sets, these miniatures, they were fun because we can watch destruction take place without thinking about real devastation. There's a childlike charm to it, where kids just cling together.
God damn it, cat, get off. Sorry, my cat. Bad kitty.
Showa era, a big brawl between monsters. The fun of it is watching giant monsters fight. Humanity's only threat is external, because those films were made to emphasize how humanity was already together, that human strength and ingenuity could stop anything. But kaiju represents something different. Kaiju's classic brawls do not have the illusion that humanity is in control. Humanity stands little to no chance against Rodan, against Ghidorah, against Gigan, against Godzilla.
I mean, that's the point.
We cannot stop them unless we create monsters of our own.
Oh, by the way, I just remembered, Godzilla versus Ghidorah had, like, messages about, like, pollution and whatnot. So, yeah, that exists.
As is the case with Mechagodzilla in the later Heisei films. If anything, humanity's attempts to stop kaiju actually makes things worse. Destroya is a creation of the original Oxygen Destroyer. He is...
Yeah, that's the point.
Whoops, it's like a weird mutation, and we clean it up. Godzilla is ultimately destroyed, and humanity contains Godzilla's explosive force. Humanity stops Destroya. The end of the Heisei era is humanity finally taking control of our fate and destiny. And it's done in a very silly movie where Godzilla's heart's about to explode and blow up the planet. And fights literal scene. Fights kaiju.
Okay, you are really saying that film's silly? Oh my god. Godzilla... Oh my god, you're saying Godzilla versus Destroyer silly? Like, Godzilla, like, there's a scene to where, like, Godzilla Jr. gets his fucking, like, throat, like, bit into by, Destroyer. Like, that happens. He gets his fucking throat bit into. And, like, Godzilla... And also, like... Godzilla's, like, heart, if it were to, like, melt and kill him, the entire world would really, like, be destroyed, pretty much.
Satan, essentially. And that's not the only time the Heisei era discussed...
I mean, Destroyer was meant to, and meant to, like, represent, meant to, take a form similar to, Satan. to make him look terrifying and all that.
humanity's influence on nature.
Just look at that. It'll ruin our future.
In Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, we see a World War II soldier who felt that Godzilla, who he encountered during the war prior to his transformation into a kaiju, he believes he has a special kinship with Godzilla. He feels
No, he doesn't. He feels that he remembers the dinosaur. He knows, well, he thinks that it's the same dinosaur he saw back in the original. Well, not back in the original, but back on the island, before it mutated and became, Godzilla.
connection to him. And so later on in the film, they're reunited, and Godzilla just blows him up. No hesitation.
Okay. Godzilla doesn't immediately blow him up. What happens is that Godzilla just stares at him, and he stares back, and the two just they just stare at each other, and then after that, Godzilla just kills him anyway. But Godzilla didn't immediately kill him. Like there was a lot more going on there. Godzilla just stares at him a little bit. There's more to this scene. Godzilla doesn't just straight up kill him.
Just bombard him. And he moves on. Human life means nothing to this titanic force.
I mean, you're not wrong.
And yet, the film also emphasizes how humanity can beat Godzilla in multiple ways. The main conflict of the film are these time travelers who come back in time from the future, and they stop Godzilla by preventing his birth. Don't think too much about the time travel mechanics in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah.
They didn't really prevent his birth. They prevent him from becoming, a mutated giant lizard. That's what they were preventing. But then again, the plot of Godzilla vs. Ghidorah is fucking messy as fuck. There's rarely the whole, the thing, it's oh, Godzilla does destroy Japan, but he doesn't. Make up your fucking mind, movie.
Very flaky and weird. So in stopping Godzilla, they create King Ghidorah. And due to time travel shenanigans, they figure out a way to bring back Godzilla, but also King Ghidorah.
No. Okay, this is where confusing. Wikizilla already made a video explaining it, but no, Godzilla was not 100% gone. He was. They didn't change anything.
Ghidorah is still here, and so they fight. And when King Ghidorah is beaten by Godzilla, they now realize, oh wait, we still have to deal with Godzilla, and somehow he's stronger than ever. So,
yeah, because they literally threw a nuclear sub at him, and it made him more powerful. It made him grow bigger. That's why.
Dealing with time travel and trying to stop all this stuff, Godzilla comes back stronger and angrier than ever before. So to stop Godzilla, they bring back King Ghidorah as Mecha King Ghidorah, which is again that little figure I loved as a kid. I didn't know what it was. I didn't realize it was humanity reclaiming their own errors to stop this monster. And the cool thing is, they win. Yes, it's always a running gag in Godzilla films that the military can't stop Godzilla, but in the King Ghidorah film in the Heisei era, humanity does beat Godzilla.
Yeah. The original film existed. Humanity, well, it was one person, but yeah, humanity did beat Godzilla. What the fuck are you talking about? They bested him in what was it? In Godzilla in the first Heisei film, which is something you did talk about. They did best him in what was it? In Godzilla Raids Again. Godzilla has been bested by the military before. If you want to count 1998, he was bested in that film, but then people don't even count that Godzilla as Godzilla. So, yeah, it's not a first time. It's not unique to that film alone.
Yes, they make several mistakes along the way, and yes, it's a plot from the future people versus the people from the present. It's a whole.
Okay. Also have to point this out. The what was it? Trying to remember. Give me a second. Never mind, I forgot.
Weird sci-fi Terminator 2 inspired plot. But at the end of the day, humanity reclaims their mistakes, fights Godzilla in a cool fight, and ultimately wins.
Oh, there's also Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. There's that as well. To where humanity, they don't 100% beat him. They almost killed him. Like, there's films out there to where Godzilla has been bested before, my guy,
Movie.
by
It's
the
so much fun.
military.
It's so fun to see humanity reclaim the
I mean, there's also GMK. There's also GMK as well, to where it was humanity that, you know, used a drill. It was a person that used a drill to dig inside Godzilla, then drill out, causing him to really burn himself from the inside.
mechanisms by which we are out of control in order to fight. And it's a cool monster design too. That's the fun of it also. There is some thematic depth that's as subtle as a brick to the face, but the fun of it is watching giant monsters fight. And of course, there's other films in the Heisei era that deal with similar themes, like Biollante, who is a combination of Godzilla, Rose, and the soul of a forsaken child, which is just bizarre, and I love it. And it's grotesque and monstrous and fantastic. And it's hammy, and it has not a subtle bone in its body, but it's so much fun. It's so fun. And the monster designs are out of control and illogical. It makes no sense. If you think about it for more than 5 seconds, the logic breaks down, but it's so much fun to watch.
Well, I mean, not all Godzilla films. Well, I mean, Godzilla in general isn't 100% realistic. God damn it, more ads.
That's me. The
No.
day the Panda Kois killed
I
my
don't
family.
care.
And in the Showa era, just forget it. Humanity is never at fault after the initial Godzilla films. Like the first few films, yeah, capitalism with Mothra and King Kong versus Godzilla, that's the problem. But then it becomes aliens. It's always aliens. Aliens this, subterranean mole people that, planet of the...
I mean, pollution is a thing. I mean, pollution's humanity's fault. I mean, are we just supposed to ignore that? I mean, in Godzilla versus Hedorah, there's like the whole message was about pollution, which yes is humanity's fault, so they were at fault.
rejects this, and as is the case in Godzilla vs. Megalon, which again, one of the introductory films I saw and owned on VHS, and yes, it was the VHS where they're standing on top of the World Trade Centers, even though it makes no logical sense, never happens in the film. The mole people call up the aliens and say, "Hey, we're getting our butts beaten. Can we borrow Gigan?" And it's like, "Yeah, sure, have Gigan. Yeah, come on over. Bring Gigan over." It's
God damn it, cat! Get off the fucking thing.
Great. It's so silly. And in the big crossover film, essentially, Destroy All Monsters, the aliens come down and mind control all the monsters, and they're just wreaking havoc everywhere. And the movie is like 80 minutes of boring garbage and then 10 minutes of great kaiju action. But that 10 minutes is like the Avengers event of the 60s. You got them all together, all ganging up on King Ghidorah, who just gets curb stomped in the most unfair fight of all time. And everyone does a little thing, even like Godzilla Jr. Manila, he gets a little couple smoke rings around Ghidorah's neck, and it's like cool. And it's the canonical end of the Showa era, a big brawl between monsters. And it's dumb, and it's goofy, and it's so much fun. It is just a joy to watch. And you're not thinking of anything deeper because it's who cares? It's aliens. There's no theme. There's no idea. It's just a bunch of people in a WWE wrestling match ganging up on one bad guy who's been just the worst for this entire saga. It's fantastic. Godzilla is a representative of mankind's nuclear hubris, and he saves.
Yeah. Yeah.
The day, and he makes friends, and he make an island where all the monsters can hang out. Destruction, not in opposed destruction, but in balance with it. And when we do something that's really bad, like an alien comes by, we let them take over the world, or we pollute too much. The natural world, or maybe in this case, the nuclear powers that we've created.
Wait a minute.
Introductory film monster. And stop classic monster films.
There's something I probably
Godzilla as the nuclear testing on Bikini Atoll. Kong, however, represents the wrath of nature and the danger it poses, as well as humanity, because we lighten up. Everything is complete. Let's see.
God damn it, cat!
Coming to life as this great monster. In stopping Godzilla, we created a worse monster, one that destroys Godzilla ultimately. I think it's all.
Trying to figure out. I'm pretty sure he does talk about like -1 somewhere. Oh God. Yeah, but I apparently
stop motion.
Okay, yeah, but the video just ends there. Yeah, that fucking video. The video's fucking awful. Oh, Godzilla has always been silly. Yeah, the fact that the 1954 original exists debunks this. Also, by the way, beforehand, Godzilla, the comments were turned off for a period of time. So, yeah. He says, Godzilla's always been silly because they use rubble suits for monster. Yeah, because you use rubber suits, that means the film's no longer serious. I mean, the Heisei era, something about the Heisei era is that the Heisei era was, like, serious all the way through. Like, yeah, sure, it did bring back old kaiju, but it was serious all the way through. I thought Godzilla was always silly. Like, the film to where Godzilla became, like, silly, to where Godzilla films started to become silly was back in what was it? Oh, yeah, pretty much after Godzilla versus King Kong. Pretty much the film Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. That's where it became sillier. To say that Godzilla was always silly is just a fucking lie because it has not it has not been silly, always silly. Also, I'm pretty sure this fucker does talk about -1. I'm trying to find it. I probably accidentally skipped over it when my fucking cat decided to get in the way, so I had to jump on my keyboard. I remember there being something about -1 last I checked.
Giant monsters. It is all the fun of going into your toy box and taking out figures of characters you don't really know that you've created this whole backstory in your head about, and you're clanging them together and you're knocking down cardboard buildings. Showa era Godzilla harkens back to the true childhood a lot of us had, even if they're destructive.
Well, guess what? Your childhood was a lie. I mean, like, the original Godzilla was serious. I mean, and it was the very first Godzilla film. And you saying that it was always silly is just a flat out lie. And then there's the what is it? Oh yeah, there's the flat out there's him saying, "Oh, but Godzilla Raids Again was serious." I mean, was silly. No, it was not. I mean, the whole, like, costumes moving fast thing was actually accidental. The original intent was to try and make the costumes, it was to slow down the footage so they moved more slower, so, they look like that weight to them, but they ended up moving fast. So, so a brief period of time, the Showa era wasn't really that silly. And until Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, that's when it started getting silly. But like I said, there's the Heisei era and the Millennium era that had a few serious films. Actually, I think a lot of films in the Heisei era were actually silly. I mean, no, not silly, but serious. Like, there was only like 2 Millennium films that were that were silly. I think 2 or 3. I'm trying to remember. But a few of them were actually serious, or they were just a little silly and were mostly serious. Oh, but I'm sorry. Godzilla was always silly. I'm trying to figure out I'm trying to remember if he talks about -1. He didn't say anything about -1. Unless I'm missing something. God, I really wish Snarkfield was here.
It's nebulous is what I'm getting at. And then there's the Heisei era, which is what we're in currently, which is...
Still cannot believe he said that.
Shin Godzilla, the Godzilla anime, and of course, the legendary film series. But Heisei is pretty below the spark of the Heisei. The first Dan, he's just...
I still think that this fucker only watched he only watched a couple of the films and just watched clips for the other ones. Or he literally just, like, watched reviews of films and just looked at that and said, watch those reviews and be like, I know everything about Godzilla. He probably just watched a bunch of reviews online and he took his info from that.
solo monster that deserves respect from Western fans came with the legendary series, but Hideaki Anno's Shin Godzilla truly is what reminded audiences that Godzilla can be frightening. He can be horrific. But even then, there's a Universal Studios ride where Godzilla fights the Evangelions.
The thing about the Evangelions is that it's just literally just a ride at an amusement park. Also, what did he just say here?
But truly is what reminded audiences that Godzilla can be frightening. He can be horrific. But even then, there's a Universal Studios ride where Godzilla fights the Evangelions.
A Universal ride? A Universal ride. Let me look this up. Let me see. Give me a second. Let me see something. Universal ride. Give me a second. I'll look this up. So I just did some digging, and I figured out that that's bullshit. That's not like a Universal ride. That's a ride that's in Japan. Huh, it's almost like he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about or something. Give me a second. Yeah. Anyway, I think I'm done with this stream in a second. No one's really in the chat. Just give me a second.
That.
God damn it, more ads. Here, give me a second. Let me just.
Forces between.
Yeah, I think this guy just grew up watching the Showa era films and just thinks that's what Godzilla should be. Yeah, I can't figure. I can't find the board what he said about -1, but. You did a better job than Dr. Skipper did. I'm not, but I'm sure that's the main works. I'm just looking at the comments. As a longtime Godzilla fan who have seen likely points of mention, size by far is. Okay. I have been a 450, and I am able to. Or different ways. Kitty, silly and stupid. Kitty. Okay, that's not okay. Kitty, can you get off me? Okay, I'm trying to look at the comment section. We need a. When people used to care about the fun of the films of movies. God, Kitty, no. God damn it. Kitty, no. No. Sorry, my cat keeps getting on me. Get off me, Kitty. Here. Here's the pets. Not really many people saying anything. Unless Shin final word. Oh my god, I just want to talk to him. Oh my god. Where did you get? Like I said, it just seems like he only watched the Showa era films. It really seems like he just watched the Showa era films and called it a day. Yeah, that's it. He just watched the Showa era films and just said, well, those were the only films he probably watched, and then watched some of the Heisei ones. I mean, he doesn't bring up anything from the Millennium era. Like, he doesn't bring up, like, GMK and its messages. He brings up nothing about that. Almost like he only watched, like I said, it seems like he only watched, like, clips of of those films and just said, like, oh, yeah, I know everything about it. Like, GMK had messages about the dead people, people who have died in World War II. Yeah, that's a thing. People have died in World War II. Yeah, and then their spirits, like, together, like, reformed Godzilla or whatever the film said. But yeah, there's that. But he doesn't seem to really acknowledge it in the film. I mean, he doesn't seem to acknowledge that film. So yeah, almost like he didn't fucking watch it to begin with. Yeah, but it really seems like he only watched, like, the show era, watched maybe some of the Heisei films and the original, and of course -1, and then pretty much afterwards just pretty much said, well, I mean, yeah, he did watch Shin Godzilla, but pretty much those are the only recent films he's watched, and then pretty much started making the video, and while making it, he was like, oh yeah, I know everything about Godzilla. Yeah, it really feels like that way. Anyway, since nobody's in chat and since I'm by myself, I'm just getting into stream here. Have a good day or night, depending on wherever you are, and goodbye.